Hello there, thanks for joining me today on 7Edition. I'm Sabrina Zainal and these are your headlines. 2.9 million people to benefit from revised petrol subsidy scheme. MACC serves compound notices to 80 individuals and entities. And Prime Minister says Plus is for sale only at the right price. We begin the bulletin with this story. Some 2.9 million people will benefit from the government's revised petrol subsidy scheme, which will be introduced in January next year. The government said the scheme will float the price of raw 95 petrol and see eligible recipients receiving between 48 ringgit and 128 ringgit quarterly, depending on the type of vehicle they own. The move is to cost the government about 65.4 million ringgit a month.
The announcement was made by Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Nasution Ismail at a special media conference in Putrajaya today. He said the targeted subsidy scheme will only be given to car and motorcycle owners based in Peninsula Malaysia who are also recipients of the Bantuan Sara Hidup BSH. For cars, only those with 1,600cc engines and below or vehicles over 10 years old with engines larger than 1,600cc are eligible. For Sabah, Sarawak and Labuan, the minister said that there will be no subsidy scheme, but the price of raw 95 in both the states and the federal territory will be capped at 2 ringgit 8 cents. Apart from targeting the lowest income group B40, the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry was also looking at the effects of the implementation of the new mechanism on the middle income group M40.
Do I have anything in mind? How the government is going to use the saving cost? If you ask me, I would love to expand it to M40. If you ask me, I would love to use that to expand to M40. So it has to be B40 plus M40, but still it has to be based on the data driven. Okay? So I'm going to raise up in this coming cabinet meeting to also consider if there is any saving, that should goes to M40 so that we can expand targeted subsidy, not only to B40 but also to.
He also said his ministry is working closely with the Finance Ministry to introduce the new petrol subsidy mechanism, which includes forecast on crude oil prices. With today's announcement, the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry will be holding further discussions with petrol companies and petrol station operators to get their feedback. Records show that Malaysians use approximately 1.2 billion litres of petrol a month, with 90% using the RON 95 petrol, which is subsidized 10% more than those using the RON 97.
Meanwhile, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC served compound notices to 80 individuals and entities said to have benefited millions of ringgit from State Investment Fund 1 Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB. Those in question are believed to have received funds totaling 420 million ringgit. MACC Chief Commissioner Latifah Koya said they have 2 weeks from the date of the notice to pay the fine. Latifah said a total of 9 individuals, 23 companies, 43 political parties and branches, and 5 foundations were served compound notices. The highest individual recipient is former CIMB Bank Chairman Datuk Sri Nazir Raza, who acquired 25.7 million ringgit, while the organization that received the highest amount was Solar Shine Sendirian Berhad at 134 million ringgit. Latifah said the fine imposed on the recipients can be as low as the money they received from 1MDB or up to a maximum of 2.5 times higher.
The whole process was based on the investigation against receiving those money. So it's up to them to pay up the fine. Failing which, we will use the full authority of the powers that is given within the Act to take the necessary action.
She added that the MACC had taken out from the list those who had paid for actual charities and that would be dealt with later on. Now, the government will study offers to take over Plus Highway Berhad, including bids from abroad. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said in Parliament that Plus can be sold only if the price and offer is right. However, he added that the government will still hold a majority stake in the company, even if there is a takeover.
Apa-apa bidaan yang dibuat oleh sesiapa akan dikaji oleh kerajaan. Kalau dia sesuai dengan kehendak kita, kita akan layan permintaan mereka.
The Premier was responding to reports that RRJ Capital has laid out a revised proposal to the government to acquire Plus Malaysia Berhad for 3.5 billion ringgit. On Saturday, Khazana Nasional Berhad said it was not interested in selling its 51% stake in Plus. Now, in the meantime, Khazana Nasional Berhad said Managing Director Dato' Syahrul Riza Rizwan selling Plus to the private sector will be a huge morale hazard. From Khazana's point of view, Plus is essentially a strategic national asset.
Difficult to imagine in private hands, especially if a lot of the offers coming in are basically private entities who just want to acquire the asset at a cheap discount and still asking the government to guarantee them. So I think there's a huge moral hazard in having private entities own such a strategic asset with the backing of government guarantees.
He recently revealed that Khazana had received a lot of takeover offers from local and foreign private entities for the country's largest highway operator. However, all the offers were rejected. At the Dewan Rakyat, the government has retabled the Anti-Fake News Repeal Bill 2019 after its first attempt was rejected by the Dewan Negara. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Dato' Liew Vui Kyong, retabled the bill for first reading in the Dewan Rakyat before Speaker Tan Sri Muhammad Arif Yusof.
Tuan Yang di-Pertua, saya mohon mengkemukakan rang undang-undang anti berita tidak benar pemansuhan 2019.
Debate on the bill for second reading is also expected to take place at the current sitting of the Dewan Rakyat, which is scheduled to end on December 5th. The bill seeks to repeal the Anti-Fake News Act, or Act 803, which was passed by Parliament during the previous administration. The bill, among others, stated that the provision to repeal the act was due to a change in government policy and that fake news can be tackled with existing laws. As such, Act 803 is deemed no longer relevant. Dato' Sri Muhammad Azmin Ali today said that the government managed to embark on major institutional reforms in a very short period of time. As such, the Economic Affairs Minister said the Pakatan Harapan PH government is still the Rakyat's choice. This despite a recent survey showing that the coalition's popularity has plummeted to 35% as of August.
Well, it is just a survey. We always use the survey just as a guideline on issues and the sentiment on rakyat on particular issues. But I strongly believe overall, rakyat believe this is the right government that they will continue to support, inshallah.
The Economic Affairs Minister was asked to comment on a report claiming that Pakatan Harapan lawmakers were shocked to find out that the ruling coalition will contest the Tanjung Piai by-election with its popular support falling to 35% as of August. According to the report, the survey conducted by independent pollster Merdeka Center was presented at a two-day retreat for PH backbenchers in Shah Alam, which ended yesterday. It was the lowest popularity rate ever recorded since the coalition took over the government in May 2018. Now, the government is looking at the possibility of having a two-tier pricing system for private hospitals. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng said the idea is to see a cheaper cost for patients. He said that the two-tier pricing system may encompass all patients. Lim said he was aware that some private hospitals have been doing a lot of charitable works by forking out a portion of the bill for needy patients. He said the Finance Ministry would also continue supporting the industry through tax incentives and creating business development frameworks which would allow the industry to grow sustainably. Meanwhile, Perak DAP Chairman Nga Kor Ming will be summoned by police to record his statement for allegedly insulting the Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharifuddin Idris Shah. Deputy Inspector General of Police, Datuk Mazlan Mansor, said the Teluk Intan MP will be called to the police headquarters in Bukit Aman.
Siasatan sedang berjalan. So, macam biasalah kita akan kumpulkan ke pihak peguam negara dan untuk makluman Nga Kor Ming akan dirakamkan percakapan pada esok hari.
Nga was alleged to have made the insulting remark on a Facebook account, Nga Kor Ming Superfans page, last month. The lawmaker, however, denied any link to the Facebook account and claimed that there was a political conspiracy to tarnish his good name and that of the DAP. Moving on, Tan Sri Muhammad Isa Abdul Samad's corruption trial begins today. The Kuala Lumpur High Court was informed that the prosecution will prove that the former Felda chairman had received more than 3 million ringgit in bribes over the approval of a hotel purchase in Kuching, Sarawak by Felda Investment Corporation Sdn Bhd FIC. Deputy Public Prosecutor Afzanizam Abdul Aziz said the prosecution would present evidence that the accused had received bribes from Syarikat Gagasan Abadi Properties Sdn Bhd Director Ikhwan Zaidel. They would also present evidence showing the accused had ordered his former aide, Muhammad Zahid Muhammad Arif, to obtain the bribes from Ikhwan as a reward for approving the purchase of Merdeka Palace Hotel and Suites by FIC for 160 million ringgit. Afzanizam also alleged the accused had committed criminal breach of trust, CBT, which caused losses to FIC, a wholly owned subsidiary of Felda. On December 14th last year, Tan Sri Muhammad Isa pleaded not guilty to 1 count of CBT and 9 counts of receiving bribes amounting to more than 3 million ringgit. He allegedly committed the offences between July 21st, 2014 and December 11th, 2015.
As a student, I would say I would hopefully see more upgrade in the facilities in our public universities, not only UM but throughout the country, as I think it needs more of upgrade as in to facilitate the students and also make the environment comfortable for them, and also about the accommodation for the students, if they could make it increase the accommodation for students.
I hope that the government can continue to subsidize our studies, because it is ever so important for students to acquire the education, and especially for students that cannot afford it. And the subsidy for government is very, very important and very crucial to students to study the courses they need for their careers in the future.
My hope for the government is to provide more intensive for them, especially providing them more job opportunities, and also for them to continue for their developments in their life. Issues on the B40 groups, so they need more. I mean, the government has to provide like an incentive for them to find out for their for their first house program.
Thanks for staying with us. Now on to the foreign front. A journalist was hit by a petrol bomb during weekend protests in Hong Kong. The journalist working with Hong Kong's public broadcaster was seen to have had flames briefly flared around his head and neck as his helmet and plastic rain poncho caught fire during the incident yesterday. The man suffered burns on his face and is currently in the hospital. According to a spokesperson, the media worker, who was wearing a helmet marked press and a high-visibility yellow vest, had been involved in a live broadcast at the time. The incident occurred during the latest unrest in Hong Kong, with police firing tear gas and baton charging crowds, while some demonstrators threw bricks and petrol bombs at police. Now, a second whistleblower has come forward, this one with first-hand information of the events that triggered an impeachment investigation of President Donald Trump for alleged abuse of power. Mark Zaid, the lawyer representing the first whistleblower, said the second person was also an intelligence official. However, no details have been released about the second whistleblower's claims. Earlier Sunday, Zayed's co-counsel Andrew Bakaj said his firm and team represent multiple whistleblowers in the case accusing Trump of using the powers of his office to pressure Ukraine's new president Volodymyr Zelensky in a phone call to investigate political rival Joe Biden and his son Hunter. It was unclear whether Bakaj was using multiple to refer to more than two whistleblowers. Typically, several officials would listen in on a call between the president and a foreign leader. The existence of a whistleblower claiming first-hand knowledge of the phone call would make it harder for the president and his supporters to dismiss the original complaint as hearsay. Now let's hop on to our daily segment Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making the rounds in the cyber world today. A heart-stopping moment captured on a dashboard camera at Depot Road, Singapore on Saturday went viral when a toddler was struck down by a car while crossing the road. The shocking footage was shared on many Facebook pages and has accumulated at least 112,000 views. Take a look. It is unclear whether the boy was hurt after the incident, but he appeared to have been moving and conscious, although he did seem to have issues standing during the end of the video. A netizen pointed out that the accident could have been avoided if the Hyundai Tucson had not illegally parked right in front of the Sri Rutra Kalimaman temple, blocking the view of the red car. Meanwhile, another Facebook user hopes that this gives awareness to parents to be wary of their children, especially when crossing roads. Now updated as of 7 p.m., here are the top trending topics and searches on the internet today.
It's time again for the federal budget. But how will it affect you? Who are the winners and losers?
Will the governments fulfill our aspirations and deliver our expectations? How far will our money be stretched for social and economic spending?
Make a date with 7Edition this October 11.
For insights from experts on Budget 2020.
Only on MTV7.
Welcome back. Lembaga Tabung Haji TH identified over 700,000 depositor accounts that are at risk of being declared dormant next month. The accounts represent a total of 60.4 million ringgit worth of deposits, but have seen no transaction for more than 7 consecutive years. Depositors need to reactivate their accounts by making at least one transaction before November 1st, or they would not enjoy the benefits of depositing money in TH. This can be done at any TH branch, counter, or online transaction with any of the fund's strategic partner of Bank Islam, Bank Rakyat, Maybank, and CIMB nationwide. Now, Malaysia is keen to further reap the benefit from mutual collaborations with China in the technology sector, mainly involving the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Deputy International Trade and Industry Minister Ong Kian Ming said as the US-China trade war and Hong Kong protests prolong, technology firms are keen to diversify into the ASEAN region, which serves a market of 640 million consumers.
Given that ASEAN is a very attractive market, and also that the US-China conflict has given a lot of push factor for Chinese companies in the tech sector to diversify and expand their operations overseas, activities overseas. I think this is a good time for all of the stakeholders here.
He was met at China's Prime Global Innovation and Entrepreneurship Contest, or IPIEC Global 2019. In addition, he said the IPIEC platform offers great opportunities for entrepreneurs to tap into the Chinese market with the support from the government.
Head of Global Business Development, WTO IP Indonesia, and Pak Frank.
Bursa Malaysia rebounded today on investors' bargain hunting activities after the key index succumbed to a 4-year low last week. The benchmark FBM KLCI was up 1.33 points at 1,559. Kenanga Research said investors were, however, worried about a potential economic recession triggered by weakening economic growth and escalating trade tension. Now on to stocks to watch. Johor-based SDS Group Berhad has been operating since 1987, and its wholesale channel is anchored by brands like Top Baker and Dailies to over 10,000 wholesale customers across West Malaysia. Close to 70% of the total revenue is generated from the wholesale segment, which garners higher gross profit margin to the group. SDS will utilize 6 million ringgit or 25% of the IPO proceeds to expand its geographical footprints outside Johor via purchasing of 18 new delivery vehicles to enhance its distribution network and setting up 8 new F&B outlets in the Klang Valley. Next. Bank Negara's minimum allocation rate, MAR, took effect from July 2019. This is likely to result in a new business strain on new agent-driven investment-linked business. Taking this into account, Allianz financial year 2020-2021's earnings are trimmed by 3 to 4%. There is, however, no impact on the life division's embedded value, EV, which continues to expand at a decent pace. And last but not least, Top Glove Corporation expects stronger earnings from the first quarter of the financial year 2020 due to a favorable operating environment, higher glove sales, and better cost efficiencies. Top Glove also aims to boost its glove production capacity by 31.6% before end 2020. The addition will mainly be on nitrile gloves as it anticipates increased demand given the strong sales in financial year 2019. I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thanks for watching and have a good night.